The origins of werewolf fiction are ancient and wide-ranging, spanning worldly traditions, featured in Greek mythology and medieval romances, as well as early folk and fairy tales. Wolfish shapeshifters have taken many monstrous forms. The subject evolved with 19th century gothic fiction, which placed the werewolf in a modern format, while 20th century portrayals often reinterpreted the werewolf as a sympathetic point-of-view character. Welcome to Horror Stories Fanatics. If you enjoy this type of content, then subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on any of our latest and greatest uploads. Ahars Mountain Werewolf Tale. Count Van Breber and his Countess Hilda were vacationing in the Ahars Mountains in Germany. One night, they stopped over at an inn, and while talking to the innkeeper, they told him of how they had terrible difficulty crossing a brook on their way. The innkeeper identified the brook and then told the couple that they should never drink from the brook. Realizing that she had taken a drink from the brook, Hilda grew horrified. Soon after, she began to have nightmares and act strangely. Also, around that time, a string of child snatchings began to take place. One night, a woman came into the office of the Count and begged him to follow her, claiming that she had seen the beast who took her child. The woman was able to run faster than the Count and chase the beast into a house. From the outside, the Count heard screams mixed with animal noises. After he got inside, the Count saw the dead body of the woman along with the hooded beast in the corner. He noticed the shape of a woman, but also signs of hair growing rampantly on her body. The beast went for the window, causing the Count to shoot. When he found a light, he was able to see clearly that the person he had shot was his Countess. Amazon wares. In the jungles of Peru, natives use a potion similar to the magic 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐤 used by the medieval werewolves. The 𝐥𝐥𝐤𝐤 produces a hallucinogenic effect which puts them in touch with the spirit world. Once there, they can take on the shapes of animals such as tigers, panthers, jaguars, and snakes. In other societies, there are more wares than just wolves. Livonian wolves at the Leaping Wall. On the feast of the Nativity of Christ, at night such a multitude of wolves, transformed from men, gathered together in a certain spot, arranged among themselves, and then spread to rage with wondrous ferocity against human beings. And those animals, which are not wild, that the natives of these regions suffer more detriment from these than they do from true and natural wolves. For when a human habitation has been detected by them, isolated in the woods, they besiege it with atrocity, striving to break in the doors, and in the event of doing so, they devour all the human beings and every animal that is to be found within. They burst into the beer cellars, and there they empty the turns of beer or mead and pile up the empty casks one above another in the middle of the cellar, thus showing their difference from natural and genuine wolves. Between Lithuania, Livonia, and Courland are the walls of a certain old ruined castle. On this particular night, congregate the multitude and try their ability in jumping. Those who are unable to bound over the wall, as is often with the fattest, are fallen upon with scourges by the captains and slain. Livonian wolves at the Leaping Wall effect transformation by crossing a certain body of water. Snuff sharing werewolves. In the early 1900s, a French farmer noticed two wolves approaching him. He quickly climbed a nearby tree to avoid confronting them, and was undetected in doing so. What he saw and heard was astonishing. The wolves began to talk, and one of them offered some snuff, which he had stored behind his tail, to the other. The werewolves left the snuff box behind, and the farmer was able to trace it to a local man. The farmer was careful not to reveal any names until one of the werewolves died a natural death, and marks on his gravestone, resembling those of a wolf, were found. St. Patrick. It is said, when the holy Patricius, St. Patrick, was preaching Christianity in that land, there was one great race more hostile to him than the other people that were in the land, and these men tried to do to him many kinds of injury. And when he preached Christianity to them as other men, and came to meet them when they were holding their assembly, then they took his counsel to howl at him like wolves. But when he saw that his message would succeed little with these people, then he became very wroth and prayed God that he might avenge it on them by some judgment. that their descendants might forever remember their disobedience, and great punishment and fit and very wonderful has since befallen their descendants, for it is said that all men who come from that race are always wolves at a certain time, and run into the woods and take food like wolves. And they are worse in this, that they have human reason, for all their cunning and such desire and greed for men as for other creatures. And it is said that some become so every 7th year, and are men during the interval, and some have it so long that they have 7 years at once, and are never so afterwards. The beauty is a beast. In the mountains of Auvergne, a story was told of a royal female werewolf. In the story, a nobleman was gazing out of his window and noticed a hunter that he knew. He asked him to check back with details of the hunt. While in the forest, the hunter encountered a wolf, and in the ensuing struggle, he severed one of the wolf's paws. He placed the paw in his knapsack and returned to the castle with his prize. When he opened the knapsack to show the nobleman evidence of his encounter, they discovered that there was no paw at all. In fact, the knapsack contained a woman's hand wearing a gold ring. Recognizing the ring as that of his wife's, the nobleman decided to question her about her daily activities. When he went into her room, he found her concealing her arm. Once uncovered, the lack of a hand revealed her true identity. Upon further questioning, she admitted to being the wolf with whom the hunter encountered, and by her confession, she marked herself for certain execution. The Berserkers. In the folk tales of the Norsemen, there are legends of warriors called Berserkers. When engaged in battle, these warriors would go into a frenzy, fearing no one, feeling no pain, having superhuman strength and never surrendering. Before a battle, the warriors would dress with a shirt made of bear or wolf skin. The term berserker translates to men in bearskin coats, and the warriors who donned the wolf skins were known as Ulfobar. But today, both groups are both described as berserkers. The feeling was that once dressed with the skins of an animal, the warrior would take on the characteristics of that animal. A Byzantine empire described the berserkers in battle as being possessed by a ferocity and madness seen only in wild beasts. The term berserk was derived from the berserkers. The Northumberland werewolf. In the Northumberland country of Pennsylvania, a tale is told of a young sheep herder and her lycanthropic admirer. The young girl was a cheerful child and liked by everyone in the community, especially a solitary old man who everyone regarded with fear. The old man would always follow the young girl and also sit and watch her as she tended to her father's flock of sheep. Although many wolf attacks were reported even during broad daylight, the flock that the young girl tended to remained unharmed. This went on for several years until a farmer spotted a wolf in the moonlight. He took a shot at it, and the wolf cried out, then retreated into the bushes. When the man went to check if his shot had killed the wolf, he found the old man dead with a bullet in his chest. The girl continued to tend to her sheep herd, and never once was it attacked by wolves. The Story of Lykan. The Story of Lykan, which originated in Greek mythology, has been viewed as one of the first werewolf stories ever. According to legend, Lykan was a cruel leader of a cult. Rumors of the atrocities committed by Lykan and his cult made their way back to the god Jupiter, who decided to investigate. He found these rumors to be fact and decided to reveal his identity to the cult. The members immediately paid homage to Jupiter. However, Lykan did not believe that he was a real god, and prepared a feast for him consisting of human flesh. If Jupiter truly was a god, he would recognize the meal and decline to eat it, since cannibalism was a great sin. Jupiter immediately noticed what the feast consisted of. To avoid Jupiter's wrath, Lykan fled to the countryside. Once there, he found out what Jupiter had in store for him. Slowly, he began to transform into a man-wolf. The term lycanthropy was derived from Lykan's name. The were-jackals of the Congo. In the 1930s, perched hidden in a tree, an English physician witnessed a very special ceremony. It started with the beating of drums. Then the Nyainga, or witch doctor, covered in the skin of a jackal, jumped into the center of the crowd and began to chant. The chanting grew louder, and the energy of the crowd grew as well. In the middle of the circle, the 𝐦𝐨𝐤𝐤 prepared a potion, and as the silence came to a halt, he drank the potion and unleashed the cry of a jackal. The 𝐦𝐨𝐤𝐤 worked himself into a frenzy beyond his physical ability and then fell into a trance. During the trance, a man and woman jumped into the circle and performed a dance which became increasingly animal-like as it progressed. Then, in an instant, the two turned into jackals before the physician's very eyes. The were-owl of China. In the mid-1970s, babies were dying in what is now Beijing, China, wherever they struggled for life. An owl was always observed nearby. Hearing of the owl, an archer waited in the room where yet another baby was dying. Once spotted, he shot the owl, which left a trail of blood while escaping. Following the trail, the archer discovered a servant girl who was incapacitated by a wound to her loin. She admitted leaving her room at night to feed on the baby's brains. She was burned alive, and the epidemic came to a close. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. If you enjoyed it and you found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.